All right. Hello, everybody. You are listening to the Minding Mind podcast, where we live life with ease, connection, and permission to just be. I'm your host, Evelyn LeVasseur, and welcome back to another episode. Today, I'm going to sit down and chat with divorce coach, Tracey Gramenz, and we're going to talk about aligning with yourself through divorce. Tracey's a dedicated advocate for women navigating the challenging waters of divorce. With compassion and expertise, she guides her clients to find their alignment while proactively managing the complexities of a separation. Tracey's ultimate goal is to help women remember what peace feels like amidst life-changing transitions. She lives in Seattle with her 2 sons and spends her free time mountain biking, remodeling her home, and swimming in the salty Puget Sound. Tracey, welcome to the show.
Hi, Evelyn. It's good to be here.
Glad to have you. Tracey, I feel like even though you work specifically with women navigating separation and divorce, I feel like that alignment piece is relevant to women in all parts of their journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that whether you're going through divorce or you're transitioning jobs or you're transitioning into motherhood, it's our jobs as women to calibrate and find our alignment so that we can successfully live through whatever season of life we're in, right?
So, I mean, let's start with like, what kind of got you into this work? Because I don't know that anybody like studies and says, I want to focus on divorce.
Right.
How'd you get here?
Good question. Right. No one really grows up and says, when I'm older, I want to get married and then divorced, and then I want to help other people get divorced. But you know what I say is that we right now as women, we're pioneers. So we are going into this season, we're leading each other right now as peers and our daughters, our friends' daughters. So we're doing things differently. And that applies to finances, careers, motherhood, and divorce. So I got divorced 5 years ago, and that was really the beginning of my journey to find my alignment. And I noticed that sooner than I wanted to, women started seeking me out, asking for my help along the way. And it just stirred something in me. And it was a yes. I realized that I needed to walk alongside other women as they were navigating these waters. So I became a coach, and then I started specializing in helping women with divorce.
I love that. Where do you think you were most out of alignment? And maybe can you even just describe for people, what does that mean to live out of alignment, or what does it feel like?
Yeah. So when I got married, I already had my son was already almost 3 at the time. I met my husband and we got pregnant within 6 months of knowing each other. And as we started walking down our relationship, I just started noticing that I would kind of lie to myself. I would say, this is hard, but all relationships are hard. Or we would experience something and I would just start saying, oh well, this is just how it is supposed to be. And I don't like it, but this is just how it is. And so I think that we all know the gut feeling of being like, this is wrong. And as women, a lot of times we just lie to ourselves and say it's normal. Like with food stuff, right? Oh, it's normal to feel hungry all day. No, it's not, right? It's normal to want to eat something and then tell myself I can't, right? Like those are just lies. And so I started telling myself lies, and I finally kind of caught myself in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Where do you think like we get the idea of consistently lying to ourselves or consistently convincing ourselves that the thing that doesn't feel good is acceptable?
Right. I mean, we are all, as women and humans, I am raising 2 boys. As humans, we kind of can buy into a narrative of society that of shoulds, right? Things should be this way. They should be this, they should be that. And it's interesting because what the world most needs is all of us alive. We know that. The world delights when we are living our version of ourself, but we almost self-sabotage by bringing on some norms. And I think there's a combination of society, a narrative, a story of how things should be, but then also fear. I think it's scary. I think it's really scary to do what you know deep down you want to do, because guess what? If you fail, then you feel the worst. You feel like you failed so deeply because you tried the thing that meant so much to us. So we play safe.
Do you think that failing feels worse than living in self-betrayal every day?
I think that's the tipping point. I think that's where you determine, like, am I so tired of myself? Am I so tired of my lies to myself that that discomfort is worse than the discomfort of stepping into the unknown? And that's, I mean, honestly, that's where I meet women often. They're finally so tired, if they were the one that initiated divorce or their husband was, someone got so tired of living in that discomfort that this uncomfortableness over here, the separation, the dividing of children's time, finances, etc., that's less worse than that discomfort of the lie.
Yeah. Do you feel like your marriage was ever like in a good place where you could convince yourself that maybe it could get back there eventually? Or do you feel like maybe from the beginning there were signs that it didn't feel good and you convinced yourself that staying in the marriage was the right thing to do?
You know, it's so interesting. I actually, right before I left my husband, because we got married so quickly, you know, we got had a child so quickly. It just was definitely a should relationship. Like, we should do this. And from the get-go, it didn't feel right. And there was never a place to get back to. But for me, right, I never had this base of like love and in loveness with my husband, or even aligned values. And it was, my lie to myself was so deep that I actually went to therapy. I went to hypnotherapy because I didn't trust myself to be, I couldn't get past my own self. So I went to an amazing hypnotherapist and we engaged in a journey together. And she said, Tracy, what are you here for? And I was like, I want to stop being frustrated with myself that I never fell in love with my husband. I don't want that story anymore. I want to get over that story so that I can be happy in my marriage. I literally went to a hypnotherapist to try to convince myself that not being in love with my husband was okay and my relationship was fine. It was just me. I was the problem.
How did she handle that?
She went with me. She walked alongside of me. And we finally got to a place. I remember your listeners are going to love it. If you've ever done hypnotherapy, I was in kind of an ocean. I was visualizing like myself as a turtle. I was like kind of doing some visualization. I'm going along and she was like, okay, what does this remind you of when I was describing some tension between my husband and I? And I was like, she's like, where else have you experienced this? Can we drop some things from the past? And I kind of got myself out. I was very like lightly hypnotized. And I just sat up and I was like, no, there's nothing else. This is the bottom of the ocean for me. And I actually ended our session early because I was like,
Wow.
all of this searching, I finally had to be honest with myself. I was like, this relationship is a problem. It's not me. It's not a narrative of like, I have to fall in love. It's not a story. It's my reality.
Yeah.
And I need to start listening to myself.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful because I really think that we're taught to ignore our instinct and we're taught to ignore our intuition and even our body. Like when we're in a situation that doesn't feel good, and it doesn't matter if it's a long-term situation or even just an immediate presence near someone, our body will physically tell us, I don't feel right, right?
Yes.
It will tell
Yeah.
you. And for the should or the need to be nice or the need to not want to be rude or to rock the boat, like we talk ourselves out of that feeling. I think I love, not that I love that you went through it, but I love that in that experience you were able to like just stop and sit up and say enough.
Yeah.
Like this is not my story anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It was amazing. And I continued to work with her. And I actually I'll write her about once a year and just thanking her for the help that and the guidance that she offered me to get me to a completely different place.
Yeah. I mean, so I feel like there's the version of you that was in the marriage.
Yeah.
There's the version of you that realized it was time to actually choose you right? And focus
Yeah.
on you. And then there's the version of you that went through the separation and ultimately the divorce. What do you
Yeah.
feel like you learned about yourself in the process of first gathering the courage to ask for the divorce and
Yeah.
then going on through the process with small children?
Yeah. Yeah. My children were turning 5 and 8 at the time. And I mean, just in a nutshell, definitely the biggest thing I learned was to trust myself.
Mm.
The biggest thing I learned, and is to stop lying to myself. And in addition to that, the thing that I did that I now help other women do is I really simplified my values, and I got really crystal clear on what was important to me. For me at the time, I had like some time management I needed to when I was dividing time with my kids for the first time ever. So when I had my kids, I said no to everything else, right? That I would never just grab a sitter or have someone watch them. If someone invited me to do something very social, there's always stuff going on. But it was so easy for me to say no. Oh, you wanted to go on that ski vacation or that, this, that. No, it was an easy no because being with them was my priority. And then for the whole first year of, as I walked out of that, my word or my focus was peace. So does this bring peace in my life or not? And it could be as simple as what I'm eating, what my house looks like, whatever. It just was, is it peaceful? The people you surround yourself with, right? And so it helped me get real clear, real easy. Is this a yes or a no person for me? Is this a yes or a no event? Whatever. And then I also realized that something that's so important to me was beauty. And it felt kind of indulgent because you're in survival mode and you're going through all these hard things. But I was just like, you know what? Beauty is really important to me. And some of that was how my house looked. I am sitting in my house right now that I ultimately ended up fully gutting and remodeling largely myself and with my now partner. But I just kept it. I would go pick flowers for myself, or I would go down and watch the sunset the first night when my kids would go back to their dads. Like such simple things. Sometimes we think our values have to be this big thing and this big faith or this big whatever. But you know what? I just love breaking them down into like, I have flowers now. I am watching the sunset. And that just made me feel aligned, you know?
Mhm. And it's funny because when you say beauty was important to you, right? Or maybe still is important to you,
Yeah.
I could almost feel people like give a judgment in that
Mm,
because
mm,
we think that that's superficial. But really, when you surround yourself with beautiful people, like their hearts, right? You're
yeah.
naturally, you feel more taken care of. When the
Yeah.
space that you're in is organized and conducive to taking care of the life that you want, now
Yeah.
your home is also a safe space and create
Yeah.
life for you. When you are reading books or checking out the sunset or picking up the flowers, like those things are surrounding you with hope and
Yeah.
possibility. And yet the beauty is a literal symbol of the life
Yeah.
you can create for yourself now because you get to choose it.
Right. Right. I remember my son really being so mad at me when because I moved out of the house into a home that we owned together as a rental and ended up buying it from him. And my son was so mad. He's such a fierce, passionate kid. And he's little but strong. And he was, 4.5, 5 at the time. And he was like red in the face. And he was like, you never asked me. You never asked me if you could leave and you left us, right? And I'm crying. He's crying. And you feel like the ultimate mom guilt, right? Like your son is saying you left him, right? And I remember I wrapped my arms around him because he's so strong. And I kind of contained him and I looked at him and I was like, you're right. I didn't ask you. And that has got to feel so hard. But you know what? I did this because I matter. I am important and I had to do this for me. And it's going to hurt all of us for a while. But I did this because I matter. And it was just such a powerful moment to say to him, to say to me, and to acknowledge, right?
And what a beautiful lesson. What a list of beautiful lessons you taught him for life. Like one, to recognize that you're not just his mom, you're a woman. right?
Right.
And you matter, and his feelings matter, and even his anger is
Yeah.
okay because it's what he feels, right?
Right.
And you gave him a safe space to relay what he was feeling, and you acknowledged what he felt, and you validated what he felt. Like that is just one powerful step after another to
Yeah.
teach him about compassion for other human beings, compassion for himself, how to navigate difficult situations with grace. Like,
Right.
kudos to you. That's amazing.
Thanks,
And I'm
Evelyn.
sure that was incredibly difficult, but the way that you handled it, like, is going to leave a lasting positive imprint on him. It has to.
I think for all of us women, that is why being aligned matters so much,
Mm.
because we can then navigate those difficult conversations with grace, with compassion, with honesty. And when we're caught lying to ourselves, when we're out of alignment, when we are not 100% sure of what we're doing, right? That moment could have destroyed me. I could have felt like, you know what? What am I doing? I'm
Yep.
abandoning my kids. I could maybe stuck with the same trajectory, but I would have layered shame upon myself. And when we live underneath shame, we can't even deal with what's really going on, right? It's just the weed at top, and we keep plucking at the shame weed and never getting to the root of what's going on in our hearts, right?
Yeah. And a lot of times we take that shame and we layer it with a little bit of denial,
Oh, there we go. Yep.
right? And then just keep it moving
Yeah.
and just
It's
keep it
just a
moving.
real great stew of all of the things to distract us
Yeah. Yeah.
from really what matters,
Mhm.
right? And that's our
Mhm.
job. That's what you're doing. That's what all your listeners are doing. We're doing the work to, like we were talking about, to be the pioneers, to be the women who are taking off the shame, taking off the guilt so that we can be richer and the right flavor,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. And I think like the other part of that is just finally like almost awakening to the thought that our existence is not meant just for other people.
Right?
Like we deserve, literally deserve to feel good and to live a life
Yeah.
that we're proud of, not just have our identity wrapped up in who we are to other people.
Yeah. Right. I think that's why just like those simple things that we do for ourselves, going to see the sunset or going to remodel your house or wearing something beautiful or whatever you like that just delights you, right? And we're also unique, right? The things that delight you. I was just talking to a woman who crochets cats. Like she just loves crocheting little like cat figurines. And you know what? It delights her,
Yeah,
right? Who cares what
right.
anyone else thinks or like what matters to them? It's delightful when we all do the things that delight us.
Yeah, I think that it's just sounding to me so much like the work that we're doing is just kind of reintroducing joy. Right?
Yes.
Like I love thinking that like I get to create a life that makes me smile every day just because like I woke up and I live here,
Yeah.
right? I don't have to work for it. I don't have to earn it. It's just
Right.
it's mine and it feels so damn good.
Yes. I remember the first day I woke up in my house here after I had moved out. And I will never forget this feeling because I woke up and you know that feeling when like it's your birthday or there's a concert to go to tonight or something exciting, right? And you just like, you're still kind of waking up, so you're a little dazed and you're like, what is going on today that's so exciting? And I had that feeling and I was like, okay, what's going on today that's so exciting? And I was like, nothing. But I'm at peace. That's what's so exciting. This feeling isn't excitement. It's not about an event. It's that I am at peace. And I always work on my own self and tell my clients to notice your moment of arrival and let that last as long as you want. So I noticed my moment of arrival to peace for that whole year. I never let that feeling go. I never got tired of remembering that's where I was at. I just let myself relish and delight in knowing I felt at peace. And I worked so hard to get there,
Yeah,
so hard to get there. And I'm not going to instantly just go to the next thing. I'm
yeah,
going to delight in that.
that's amazing. Do you feel like because you did mention that you have a current partner, what did you have to go through, like mentally and emotionally, to tell yourself, I think I'm open to try? partnership again?
Well, I'm a like learn by doer, Evelyn. So I think a lot of us are like that, right? And so I didn't feel like I was ready, and I definitely had a lot of guards up. And so I like stepped my way into this relationship, like, and kept who is now like the kindest, most thoughtful and generous partner I can ever imagine. I kept him at arm's length for a
Mm.
while, like, okay, we can just be friends with benefits. We can date, but you can't be around my kids. Like, it took literally years to walk more and more into it. And I think I just had to learn what I wanted, and I had to learn what felt right for me. And I just had to take my time. And fortunately, I was with someone who was so patient along the way, because when you're starting to, when you're resetting something, it's so easy to slip back into old patterns, or to think that old things have to be a part of a new thing, right?
Mhm.
Because I did this in the past, because I used to look at food a certain way, I'm going to do it now, right? It takes a long time, so long. And so I just had to be patient with myself, and be with a partner who is patient with me, and realize, oh, this is what works for me.
Right.
We've been together for 4 years now. We don't live together happily. Don't and I just kind of do it in a way that works for me and for us, and it's
Yeah.
really lovely, you
Yeah.
know?
I think that's exactly the thing, is that you're not, even in your current relationship, you're not allowing any of those shoulds to come in and like control what you're supposed to or what you want to do.
I think really for the first few years, though, that was a battle. Like, I should want to move in with this person. I should
Mhm.
want to get married. And I just realized, my dad asked me a year or so ago, he's like, well, are you thinking about marriage? And I was like, Dad, no, I'm absolutely not. And happily so. I was like, I'm happy with how this is. We're
Mhm.
both happy. And so I don't feel like I need to conform. But for a while, I felt like, is my relationship wrong because I don't want these things? And I had to stop and recalibrate and be like, no, that is me looking externally. It's looking outside. Am I happy? Yes. Do I feel at ease? Yes. Do I have good adventures? Yes. Everything is as it should be. So why would I complicate things by adding external values onto my values that I already know?
Right. I love that. It just sounds like the journey, and I feel like all of our journey, right? No matter
Yeah.
where we started or what struggle it is that we've gone through, ultimately the answer comes in like coming back home to ourselves.
Right. We always know the answer, and we just have to trust ourselves enough to believe the answer that's inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that women can get there a little more easily because they feel like maybe working with you gives them permission to value themselves?
I think it gives them permission to trust themselves.
Mhm.
And I think I do a lot of calling things out when maybe they're speaking in the shoulds, or they're allowing their ex partner's language to live over them. And so we disentangle, like, we do it some exercises where we're like, what do you know is true about yourself? What are things that other people are saying? Where's the overlap? And discard the things that you know are not true about yourself. So it's a lot of unlearning,
Yeah.
and just saying out loud the things you know to be true. And I think that's best done with someone walking alongside of you and saying it out loud, saying it out loud. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that it's easy for us to live in our heads and talk ourselves out of the things that we know feel right or don't feel right.
Yes.
And I love the idea of a coach. I will forever have a coach. I don't care how far along I am in my life. I always want somebody who is there to, be like objective and guide me.
Yeah.
And I love that idea of just having someone there to sometimes help you get out of your own way.
Yes. Get out of your own way, and then also deeper within yourself.
Yeah,
It's kind of like
100%.
a dual action.
Yeah, it's beautiful and needed and so needed.
So needed. Yeah.
Tracy, if people wanted to find you, social media, where can they find you? Are you like on socials? Is it email? Like, what's the best way to contact you if they were interested? And are you like enrolling clients? What do you do?
Yeah, so they can go to my website, tracygramenz.com. They can see that, I'm sure, in your show notes.
Yep.
And that's the best way to get in touch with me. There's I have a free guide, like a divorce checklist guide that they can grab. And then also that's a place to book a consult with me. And I am booking clients right now. And that's the best place to find me. Yeah.
Awesome. Your work is so needed. So needed. Thank you for sharing with us today. I cannot let you go though, because I have to ask you the question of the hour. And the question of the hour is, in the Minding Mind community, we are so focused on being intuitive and focusing on our gut instinct and shutting off all the outside noise about who we should be, and instead living a life that aligns with who we actually are. So that's minding yours, right? So how do you think minding yours and doing what's good for Tracey is ultimately impacting the legacy that you'll leave?
Yeah, I love that question. I saw my son's school paper the other day, and they said, "What have you learned from your mom?" And he wrote, "My mom told me I can do anything I put my mind to." And I think that when we trust ourselves and we're so fiercely committed to our vision, we believe that. And that's what I want to give to my friends, my children, all women, everyone, right? Like, we can do anything we put our minds to when we deeply believe in it and in ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I think that'd be what I would say.
Amazing. Amazing. And so, so true. Like everything that we desire for ourselves is on the other side of believing in it.
Right.
100%. I love that.
Yeah.
Amazing. Tracey, thank you so much for sharing your story and your heart with us today. Everyone else, thank you for joining us both for this great conversation and tuning into another episode of Minding Mind. If this episode resonated with you, remember to comment, rate, and review the podcast. Your feedback helps me grow. And until next time, I want you to go live your life on your terms, and please just mind your business. We'll catch you in the next episode.